Hi everybody, I'm Tony Schaefer from What Drives Us. This is one in a series of videos I'm making about hypermiling. In this video, I'm going to provide a real simple explanation into what hypermiling is. Now, if you go online and Google a definition of hypermiling, there's a really good chance you're going to find some overly complicated, really technical definition and explanations. But it doesn't have to be that way. You see, my definition of hypermiling is simply exceeding the expectations of the mileage of a vehicle. That's it. It doesn't matter what the expectations are. They could be high, they could be low. It doesn't matter what kind of vehicle you're driving, whether it's a car, a minivan, a truck, or a delivery vehicle. Simply exceed the expectations and you're hypermiling. For example, case in point, here in the United States we have the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. And the EPA rates every vehicle for how many miles you should be able to drive per gallon of gasoline or diesel consumed. It's miles per gallon. So you could go to any vehicle, look up the EPA's MPG expectations, and exceed that. If you exceed that rating, you are hypermiling. Plain and simple. The beauty of that explanation is that hypermiling can be applied and should be applied to any vehicle. After all, not everybody wants to buy a hybrid or an advanced technology vehicle, but everybody wants to save money on fuel. So hypermiling allows anyone to save money on fuel regardless of the vehicle and regardless of the expectations. Let me give you an example of hypermiling put to some really good use. Bradley Fonz of the Milwaukee Hybrid Group worked with a delivery company that owns a fleet of large delivery trucks. These are not what you consider to be fuel-efficient vehicles. But by teaching a few hypermiling techniques and creating a friendly, competitive environment so that they would constantly check how they're doing against others and keep each other honest, they reduced their overall fuel consumption. That saved money off their bottom line, which directly went into improving the overall company. Now, I'm confident that if a fleet of delivery trucks can reduce their fuel consumption and save money for their company, you can reduce your fuel consumption and save money for your family. At one point, members of various online forums suggested creating levels of hypermiling. So here's an example using real-world numbers. Let's say you drive a typical sedan that achieves 30 miles per gallon. So 100% EPA is 30 miles per gallon. That's considered average driving. And they said, perhaps we should draw the line at 5% and say that if you get 105% EPA, which would be 31.5 miles per gallon, that should be the definition of hypermiling. Now, as I said, anything above EPA is considered an achievement, but was it really enough to say anything above, let's say 30.1, is that enough to say that that achievement makes you a true hypermiler, or did you just have a good tank? And that's why the 5% came in, so that you could prove that over time you've achieved hypermiling status. But it went farther because in Japan, a lot of the hypermilers really tweaked the way they drove and they really worked on their techniques, and they consistently achieved 110% expectations. We're talking 33 miles per gallon out of a 30 mile per gallon vehicle. So for them, if you achieve 110% on a regular basis, the term was created Ubermiling in addition to hypermiling. So I know that right now some of you are looking at a 1.5 mile per gallon difference between average and hypermiling, and you're thinking to yourself, that's not such a big deal. Trust me, you would be surprised. I mean, after all, we're not talking about a single trip here. We're talking about averages. All your really good days, all your really bad days for an entire tank, over an entire week, over an entire year, over the entire ownership of your vehicle. It's really not that easy. So here's another example. If you happen to own a 2015 Ford Explorer, yes, you can hypermile a Ford Explorer. You're looking at an EPA rating of 20 miles per gallon. So your benchmarks become 20 miles per gallon to be average, 21 miles per gallon to be a hypermiler, 22 miles per gallon to be an Ubermiler. Sounds easy, right? I mean, we're talking 1-2 miles per gallon. You'd be wrong. Even that 1 or 2 is a huge, huge challenge. So what have we learned? We've learned that at its core, hypermiling simply means you are consistently achieving higher than the EPA mileage expectations on whatever vehicle you happen to be driving. If you really want to achieve hypermiling consistently, strive for 5% above your vehicle's expectations. You'll find that it's harder than you think. So my goal in this video was to give you a frame of reference for every time I use the term hypermiling in subsequent videos. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you want to see more videos about hypermiling, be sure to visit the What Drives Us YouTube channel. That's where you'll find our weekly podcast, car reviews, and a few other things. Our podcasts, by the way, are recorded every Wednesday night. If you want to be notified when we record a new podcast or upload new videos, be sure to subscribe to the channel and enable notifications. Thanks again, and remember, I'm not asking you to drive less, just drive better.